I'm doing well. How are you guys?
88% of your team deadlifts 500 pounds. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a nice way of saying all but one. Uh, but yeah, I mean, we've made some major gains with the strength and conditioning. We always try to fine tune our program every off season, and I just felt like this off season we need to get stronger, but we need to do it without putting our guys at risk for injury. And so I think we accomplished that. I think we did a really good job in the weight room. We did a much better job with our nutrition. I've been on a warpath about our nutrition and how we eat and when we eat and what we eat. And Lauren Marucci, our team nutritionist, has done a very good job with our guys along with Coach Golden. So I'm pleased with the progress we've made in those areas. We need to still get better, but we've made quite a bit of progress in those areas.
I know that you trust the program in Golden's hands. Did you guys change anything up this offseason as far as strategy went in the weight room?
No, we changed up a little bit how we loaded the weeks and how we structured our weeks to try to get better gains. We changed up a little bit how we do our weigh-ins and check in on weights, and just kind of gave goal weights and gave a lot more time for guys to put on the weight, whereas in the past we've pretty much held them accountable every week to be at certain weights. And I think it led to us getting the weight for that week, but maybe not being a sustainable weight that we've been able to keep on. So I think we've packed on the pounds in a much better way this time, so that it'll be it'll be sustainable throughout the season here.
We're talking to LSU men's head coach Will Wade here on Off the Bench. And, Coach, yesterday you talked about some potential upgrades to the practice facility, to the PMAC. I guess I'll ask you a bit of a two-parter here. Why do you think those upgrades are needed, and kind of what are the goals for the upgrades? Like, what can you accomplish with it?
Well, I'm just talking about the practice facility.
Okay.
The PMAC, whatever happens with that, that's way out of my hands. That's way above. That's way above. My pay grade. And we only play in the PMAC 18 to 20 times a year. So that's not nearly as big a deal for me, although I know it's a big deal for the administration and our donors, just in terms of, having more fan-friendly areas and more club seating and that sort of thing, just so you can enhance the fan experience. But really my focus is on our practice facility and making our practice facility much more functional, and where we can be a much more efficient program. So, that's what I'm trying to do. Our guys we're doing the best with what we got right now, but we're just, if you ask any company what makes them good, it's efficiency. The best companies are the ones that are efficient. The best organizations are the ones that are efficient. And as y'all know, I can't stand inefficiency, and we're just not nearly as efficient as we need to be right now. And so we're trying to go about correcting that and getting better.
So just in a perfect world, Coach, right? You just never want to leave the facility. Coaches, offices, weight room, everything there at your disposal.
Yeah, I mean, we're the only program in the SEC that doesn't have offices and a weight room in their basketball facility. And so our guys on a given day walk between 1.81 and 2.62 miles a day just to get to their basic services. And I'm not going to extrapolate it all out for you, but basically we lose 5 days a year just walking around.
That's a strong, dude. That is a strong argument, Coach. I love that.
I won't take all the math out for you, but we're losing, between 2.5 and 4 hours a week, depending on where our guys are going. And you take it out, we're losing up to somewhere between 3 and 5 days a year just walking to get to our basic needs and our basic services for our program. And so, when you get to an elite level, or if you want to get to an elite level, you need those those extra 3 to 5 days. You need those to be training or resting or, off your feet, as opposed to moving around. And so that's why this is so important. If we want to take that next step, we've got to, we've just got to be more efficient with what we're doing.
I mean, you want to know how you go from 2 wins to 16-2 2 years later?
There you go.
That kind of obsession with detail.
It is kind of crazy that the SEC champs are the only school in the league without the weight room and
SEC
the
champs
offices.
makes that a really strong argument.
You mentioned Lauren Marucci on staff now. The Nutrition Center was unveiled last week. What does that do for recruiting and for your program?
No, I think I think that's certainly going to be a big step for us. Is just being able to eat better, and it's right by where our guys live. And so that's something we've been harping on since we got here. Is that we've got to put you don't put diesel in your car if it takes unleaded, and so you've got to put the right gas in the body to fuel the body. And so I think we've certainly got the infrastructure in place now with the new dining facility and with the new chef and our nutrition people are working well with the dining facility and with the chef to cook good food that's healthy, that tastes good. And that's the tricky part with your guys is you got to find stuff that they'll eat that's also healthy and replenishing the calories that they lost in practice and replenishing everything that they've lost. So I think we're making good steps there, and I think it's going to be a big help to our program, obviously the football program, and I think all the programs here. I think it's going to be a big help for everybody.
Coach Wade, something else that jumped out when you were talking yesterday. You were talking about Emmett Williams, kind of predicting where he'll shoot this year. But is it, so he's been making 500 threes a day after practice?
Yeah, he was in there last night shooting. So he was in here last night shooting. We went to dinner and he was going back to shoot. And he's just taken a lot more serious approach. He went through the NBA process, and I know sometimes people get upset with the NBA process and why do your guys go through it. But when you get those guys back from it, it's the best thing that can happen. That's why I like our guys to go through it. And like I said yesterday, I think all our guys made the right decision for them. But Trey went through it his first year, had 6 workouts, came back. He was like a different person. He understood. He understood things a lot better. Marlon went through it, Skylar went through it, and Emmett went through it, and it's made a huge. I mean, there's not much to change with Skylar, but with Marlon and Emmett, I mean, it made a huge impression on them and a huge change in their attitude, their consistency of work, all that sort of thing. They understand how serious it is. It's in college, if you can't do something, well, we're going to work with you to try to get that skill better and try to help you and move you through it. And the pros, if you can't do something, they just go find somebody who can.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's just a totally different animal. And I think they understood that going through that process, and it's just made them a lot more serious and a lot more locked in with what they're doing.
Will Wade on Off the Bench, ESPN New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Alexandria. Is there any one thing that you want to take away from the trip to Spain? Is there anything dominantly that you want to bring back with you to the States?
Well, I hope we form a playing identity on the court. We start to form that. Our team's a very, very close team. It's as close a team as I've ever had. I know everybody says that every year, but this really is. This is not. Sometimes you got to manufacture some chemistry and maneuver and do some things to make the chemistry come together. We had to do that a little bit last year, but this year these guys care for each other. They're with each other all the time, and so I want to continue to build those bonds and make those even a little bit stronger. And then certainly I want to see how guys are going to react in game situations. We're putting a lot more of a load on Emmett. We're putting a lot more of a load on Darius Days. 2 guys who had very good freshman years for us last year, but we're more role players than featured guys, and so we're putting a lot more on those guys. We need Bishop and Manning and Watford. All 3 of them are going to have to be good players for us this year, and they've been unbelievable in their work this summer and have great work ethic, and have done really, really well in practice. But we got to see that translate to a game. We got Cooper and Hyatt coming off of red shirts. We got to see what they can do in a game. So the trip really comes at a great time for us with us needing to see what those 7 guys can do and see how they can react in game situations.
Boot up. Thanks for the time this morning, Coach.